Hi, I'm Chuck Rexroad, AB1CR, and I would like to spend a little time with you talking about Winlink for Bears of Manchester specifically. My email address is crexroad34@gmail. Also, I'm AB1CR at winlink.org, and if you sign up as a Winlink user, your email address there will be your call sign at winlink.org. We're going to talk about what is the Winlink system, what if there's no internet, which is a question we always have, basic Winlink stations, what does Winlink itself look like, how to get started, and I'm going to offer a challenge to you, and there won't be any Q&A in this recording. So what is Winlink itself? It's a worldwide amateur radio system for sending email via ham radio, very widely used in ARS and other emergency communication organizations, and it's been adopted for contingency communication by many government agencies. It is truly a worldwide system, operating on VHF, HF, and actually directly over the internet if you want to do it that way. And it provides that capability so that if you need to send and receive email over amateur radio, you can do that, and it's in a form that everybody's used to working with. So what is Winlink good for? This is just a personal example that during the power outage in 2003, where most of New England was without power and without internet, I was thinking, oh, what if I wanted to send an email to my brother in New Jersey and my mother in Virginia? How would I go about that? Well, let me just hop on HF with Winlink. There's a gateway in Philadelphia that looks pretty good signal, and I was able to send and receive emails through that gateway. They saw email from a different address than usual, but otherwise everything was the same. So if you think of Red Cross sending and receiving messages maybe to the headquarters in Virginia, or if you think of other things in a natural disaster like a Red Cross shelter where we can send messages out for people in the shelter telling their families they're okay, we don't have to do this whole thing over amateur radio. What we need to do is use amateur radio to get out of the disaster area to something that's operating normally. In my example, a gateway in Philadelphia. So this could be VHF, it could be HF, but those capabilities are there for us to use. And most disaster areas, even like the wildfires in California last year, they're not that big geographically. And so you don't have to send a signal across the country to get to a working gateway. You probably are going to find one reasonably nearby that you can connect to. So in Connecticut, we have a lot of independent gateways for Winlink down the left side there. KB1 AEB-10, 145.53 is up on Box Mountain. Very, very wide range, great one to test with and get comfortable with. It's a good news, bad news thing because it has such huge range. Everybody is familiar with it. And if there's really a disaster, a lot of people are probably going to try and use it. I really encourage you to use it for testing, but then try and find some other gateways that you might be able to use. And in fact, on the right side, the W1SP gateways. This was a project that Bill, W1GTT, worked on for many years. These gateways are on state police towers, or now it's called the state radio system. And they're in hardened buildings. They've got generator power and other backup capabilities. They have the same resiliency as the entire state radio system. So these gateways can be expected to operate even if there's a problem that takes out the internet and some other things. When Bill passed away, I was asked to pick up the administration of the W1SP nodes, and so I now handle the software and computer side while the state radio technicians handle the hardware and the radios. So what if there's no internet? I was kind of starting down that path with the W1SP nodes, and they in particular are connected together with fiber and microwave, and if the internet goes away, it doesn't affect operation at all. So if I send an email to AF1UD and I connect to W1SP-1, and he then connects to W1SP-2 and checks his email, he's going to get the message, even if the internet is completely gone. So that provides us a really good statewide capability. Winlink also supports peer-to-peer messaging as the ultimate failsafe. That can be over HF or VHF. And so we can use that and have the same user interface and ease of use we're used to, even if we have to just use peer-to-peer. So what does a basic Winlink system look like or setup look like? The top right is my VHF system, and that's a 40-year-old VHF UHF radio and a 25-year-old TNC on top. So you don't have to have the latest and greatest gee whiz hardware to make this work. If you have anything that worked on packet, it'll work on Winlink, and you're in good business. On the bottom is my HF rig, and to the right there is that SignalLink USB, which is my favorite device for HF. And the nice thing with this is that if you do FT8 or some other computer sound card kind of mode, and you have your rig control working, you're 90% of the way of having Winlink working on HF. An even more basic setup is my handheld and a DigiRig. The DigiRig is still, by the time you buy the unit and the cables, it's still about $100, so it's not incredibly cheap, but it works very, very well. And in the baggie there at the bottom is a roll-up J-pole, 15 feet of string and a 1-ounce weight. And I can throw that over a tree limb, or I was in an ICU where I was doing communication. I literally got up on the desk and hung my J-pole from the ceiling because that rubber ducky is not the best antenna in the world. And the J-pole can make the difference between being able to connect in and not. The Bears has a Winlink station. It's available. And on the right there is a VHF UHF radio that's set up for packet, and the TNC, the black unit on top, the silver unit there, is set up for VHF, and then the rest of that is HF and a modem for HF. All of this is in place, works well. I tested it the other day and encourage you to take advantage of that if you wish. So what does Winlink really look like? It looks a lot like Outlook, and it works very similarly. So, you got your inbox, read items, the outbox, which is where things will sit until you connect to a session, sent items, which is where they'll go once they're truly sent, and things of that nature. So if you receive a message and you double click on it, it basically shows up in full screen, and then you can reply all, acknowledge. Acknowledge is an interesting one because let's say I'm in an EOC and I receive a request for information that I don't have. I can acknowledge, which means I'm telling the person at the other end, I got your request. Now I can go find the information. And once I have it, I can do the actual reply to let them know what the answer is. So acknowledging it lets them know that somebody is indeed working on it and is aware of the request. So if you use Winlink just over the internet with no radio equipment, it looks like this. And you basically open a session for Telnet Winlink, click the start button, it connects over the internet, and any messages for you are downloaded, any ones you have on the outbox are going to be uploaded, and you're done. If you use VHF packet, it looks very, very similar, and that's by design, of course. For packet, or the VHF, of course, we need W1SP-5 was the node I used in this case, and the radio has to be set to the right frequency. But with those two things done, I just click open the session in Packet Winlink, click on start, and it sends and receives the messages. One of the real key things about Winlink is that you can create forms, and the forms can be in the format that the served agencies are used to. So you can see down the left column there, general forms, there's Hawaii state forms, there's the ICS forms, which are basically being used in almost all disaster situations now. And when you click on something like ICS 213, it brings up what you see on the right. It's a form that looks just like the ICS 213 form that somebody could have on paper. And so it's very, very easy for someone to work with this. They can, the user could be a non-ham radio operator. As long as we have a control operator, that's fine. And so we could have a served agency person working with forms they're used to, sending and receiving in a very, very easy to use environment, and be able to provide that service to them in a disaster situation. There's also Winlink training. The MCOM Training Org is a group that has been functioning for many years now, and they provide a monthly exercise. And this one just came in the other day, and this is a tsunami preparedness exercise that's more involved than most. And the exercises they come out with monthly run the gamut from very simple to something like this, which is fairly complex, with an ICS 214 log form to track your time, and then item 2 is Did You Feel It, which is a special report, the U.S. Geological Survey for earthquakes. Number 3 is the Winlink check-in form to describe your operational capabilities to the people who are in charge of the event, and on down the line there. So this one is fairly complicated, but a lot of them are far easier. And you can participate in this using your computer over the internet without any ham radio and still get the training aspect of this and have worked with the ICS 214 and the Winlink check-in and all those forms. So if something does happen, you're used to it and you can hop in to a Winlink station at the Bears or anywhere else and know what to do and how to do it. So to get this set up on your computer, go to downloads.winlink.org and download the Winlink Express install. And once you've installed that, if you look at winlink.org/user, down there in the bottom left, how to get an account, just walks you through the steps. Basically, you're putting in your call sign, your email address, a password that hopefully you don't forget immediately, but there's ways to recover it, so it's not a big deal, and a few other pieces of information, and it will register you, set up your account. It can only be done through Winlink software on your computer. They don't allow you to do it over the internet. It's the idea here is to make sure that people are functioning and that people are actually people and not somebody trying to hack into the system. So my challenge to you is set up Winlink on your Windows computer and start practicing with it. Send emails to your friends, send emails to your family, participate in winlink.org, whatever it might be that is important to you and helpful to you. But the more that you work with Winlink, even if it's once a month, the better prepared you'll be if we need to use it in a disaster. So I'm Chuck Rexroad, AB1CR 73.